It's easy to forget that before they were A-listers, some of today's biggest actors were hanging out in some very weird corners of TV. After all, everyone has to start somewhere, and for a surprising number of stars, that somewhere was science fiction. We're talking alien invasions, government experiments, starship crews, and more than a few questionable special effects. So let's rewind and look back at the sci-fi shows that introduced us to actors who would later become household names. The roles you probably forgot, but that helped launch some of the biggest careers in Hollywood. Robin Williams, Mork and Mindy. Before Robin Williams became one of the most beloved actors on the planet, he literally arrived on Earth in an egg. Mork and Mindy introduced him as Mork, an alien from the planet Ork sent to observe human behavior, and it immediately unleashed something TV had never seen before. Williams' rapid-fire improv, strange physical comedy, and off-the-wall energy turned a simple sci-fi sitcom premise into a cultural phenomenon. While the show is often remembered as a comedy first, it's pure science fiction at its core, an alien outsider trying to understand humanity. Watching it now, it feels like the moment the world first realized Robin Williams wasn't just funny, he was a once-in-a-generation force who could make the weird feel warm, heartfelt, and unforgettable. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Third Rock from the Sun. Long before he was bending minds in Inception or charming audiences in indie dramas, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was an alien teenager struggling with high school. On Third Rock from the Sun, he played Tommy Solomon, a member of an alien expedition posing as a human family to study Earth. While John Lithgow often stole the spotlight, Gordon-Levitt quietly built one of the show's most emotionally grounded performances. His character wrestled with adolescence, identity, and social awkwardness, all through a sci-fi lens that made those experiences feel even more relatable. It's easy to forget now, but this sitcom was one of the smartest science fiction comedies of the 90s, and it gave Gordon-Levitt years of experience balancing humor, vulnerability, and sharp timing. In hindsight, it's the perfect training ground for the thoughtful, genre-hopping career he'd later build. Jessica Alba, Dark Angel. Dark Angel didn't just launch Jessica Alba's career, it cemented her as an early 2000s cyberpunk icon. Created by James Cameron, the series cast Alba as Max, a genetically engineered super soldier escaping a shadowy government program in a post-apocalyptic Seattle. The show blended sci-fi action, dystopian world-building, and early 2000s edge, and Alba carried it with surprising emotional weight. Max wasn't just enhanced, she was hunted, angry, vulnerable, and fiercely independent. While Dark Angel only lasted 2 seasons, it left a huge impression and introduced Alba as more than just a face. She was an action lead in a gritty sci-fi world. Looking back, it's wild how much this role shaped her early image, and how quickly the show itself slipped into forgotten cult favorite territory. Jason Momoa, Stargate Atlantis. It's almost hard to believe now, but Jason Momoa's rise to global stardom began with a quiet, stoic role on Stargate Atlantis. As Ronan Dex, Momoa played a warrior from a conquered world, driven by loss and a relentless need for justice. The show gave him space to develop the intense physicality and presence that would later define his career, but it also let him explore vulnerability beneath the toughness. Ronan wasn't just muscle, he was traumatized, loyal, and deeply human despite the sci-fi setting. At the time, Stargate Atlantis was a major genre franchise, but Momoa's casting flew under the radar. Looking back, it's wild to realize Aquaman and Khal Drogo sharpened their edge fighting space vampires first. Peter Dinklage, Threshold. Well ahead of his Game of Thrones fame, Peter Dinklage popped up in a short-lived but ambitious sci-fi thriller called Threshold. The series focused on humanity's response to first contact, framed as a global emergency, and Dinklage played Arthur Ramsey, a brilliant mathematician and linguist recruited to help decode alien intelligence. Even in a show that barely lasted a season, Dinklage's performance stood out for its sharpness and quiet authority. He brought weight to dense scientific dialogue and grounded the show's more abstract ideas in something human. Threshold itself is mostly forgotten, but it's a fascinating reminder that Dinklage was already commanding attention in genre television long before dragons entered the picture. Katherine Heigl, Roswell. Before romantic comedies made her a household name, Katherine Heigl was part of one of the most emotionally driven sci-fi teen dramas of the late 90s. On Roswell, she played Isabel Evans, one of 3 aliens living in small-town New Mexico while hiding their extraterrestrial origins. The show blended UFO mythology, government conspiracies, and teen romance, and Heigl's performance stood out for giving Isabel a mix of strength, fear, and longing. She wasn't just the alien girl, she was grappling with destiny, identity, and whether she belonged on Earth at all. While Roswell developed a devoted fan base, its sci-fi roots often get overlooked in Heigl's career. But this was an early example of her anchoring emotionally charged material inside a genre framework. Nathan Fillion, Firefly. Nathan Fillion's career is packed with fan-favorite roles, but Firefly remains the one that permanently etched him into sci-fi history. As Captain Mal Reynolds, Fillion anchored the space western with charm, moral complexity, and just enough weariness to make it all feel real. Firefly blended frontier storytelling with futuristic tech, and Fillion's performance was key to selling that strange but perfect balance. He played Mal as someone clinging to his own code in a universe that had moved on without him. Though the show's run was famously short, its legacy is massive, and it's easy to forget that this role came before his long reign on procedural TV. For many fans, this is still the role everything else gets measured against. Gina Torres, Cleopatra 2525. Gina Torres has been quietly dominating genre TV for decades, starting with the gloriously over-the-top Cleopatra 2525. Set in a post-apocalyptic future, the show followed women fighting back against machine overlords, and Torres brought strength, authority, and presence even in a series that leaned heavily into camp. Later, Firefly gave her a more grounded sci-fi role as Zoe Washburn, a battle-hardened soldier with unwavering loyalty and emotional depth. Together, these roles showcase Torres' range within the genre and how often she's been essential to sci-fi ensembles, even when the shows themselves don't always get their due. Mahershala Ali, The 4400. Years before winning multiple Oscars, Mahershala Ali was part of one of the most intriguing sci-fi concepts of the 2000s. On The 4400, he played Richard Tyler, a fighter pilot abducted by mysterious forces and returned decades later without having aged a day. The show explored alien intervention, human evolution, and the unintended consequences of gifts bestowed on ordinary people. Ali's performance was deeply emotional, especially as Richard struggled to reconnect with a life that had moved on without him. Even in an ensemble cast, he brought quiet gravitas and empathy that made the sci-fi stakes feel personal. Looking back, it's a perfect early showcase of the subtle intensity that would later define his career. Jaimie Alexander, Kyle XY. Best known to Marvel fans as the sword-wielding Lady Sif or to Blind Spot fans as Jane Doe, Jaimie Alexander first starred in Kyle XY, a sci-fi drama centered on a mysterious young man with no memory, no past, and no belly button. Alexander played Jesse Taylor, another experiment like Kyle, shaped by trauma and manipulation rather than kindness. Her performance added a darker edge to this series, exploring what happens when scientific experimentation strips away humanity instead of nurturing it. Kyle XY mixed teen drama with big science fiction questions about identity and free will, and Alexander's arc remains one of its most emotionally charged. It's an easy role to forget now, but it helped establish her as a compelling presence in genre storytelling long before blockbuster fame followed. Are there any megastars we missed who got their start on a weird little sci-fi show? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Check out TVShowPilot.com for more deep dives into TV history. And don't forget to subscribe to the TV Show Pilot YouTube channel for more videos celebrating TV shows and their stars.